I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank and our NATO allies, and what is at stake at this very moment. What is at stake this very moment are some of the guiding principles around the NATO alliance.
All right, guys. So once again, I am doing a video about Kamala Harris embarrassing herself on the world stage, right? I honestly don't know what's worse at this point. How obvious it is that Kamala is just woefully unprepared to be vice president, or Biden's mental deficiencies. Okay, I don't know which one is more embarrassing at this point. At this point, both of them are basically equally as embarrassing, and it really does not give me hope for the future, okay, in regards to the direction of this country, because our leadership truly is incompetent, right? And in that clip I just showed you guys, that is Kamala awkwardly doing this press conference with the Poland president, basically iterating how, you know, she's standing there, right, on the eastern flank or whatever, right, as if she's rehearsing what she's supposed to be saying. Okay, and when I first looked at this clip, you know, I thought about it, and I thought about Kamala and her whole career, and I think I've figured out what Kamala's issue is. I think I've actually figured out why Kamala keeps having these awkward moments. I think the reason why is because she is truly the definition of an overly calculated politician. Okay, she is a chameleon. Okay, and when you're a chameleon, you're always somebody who you're not. Okay, you're always trying to fit in different situations, and you can never truly be yourself. Okay, she's an actor, but she's not a good actor. She's not a good actor because she's always playing these different roles depending on what suits the situation. She's never herself. Again, think about her come up, okay, and the things that she's had to do, allegedly, the poles that she's had to ride in order to get to the top, right, to get to where she's at. Kamala Harris has shown over her career that she is willing to do anything and to do any type of acts in order to get where she's trying to get. That tells you about who she is as a person, her personality, that she lacks a real personality, that she's not a real person. She's whoever she needs to be in the moment, right, to advance her career, right? And I think that shows up when she is doing these speeches and when she's, you know, out in public and interacting with people, because she's always trying to be somebody different depending on what the situation calls for, right? And you can contrast that with somebody like Trump. He never has moments like that because Trump is always himself, right? One thing we know about Trump is that if Trump says something, you know, that's probably authentically how he feels, okay? And because of that, you never see that type of awkwardness, right? But with Kamala, you're always seeing that awkwardness because she's the exact opposite. She's overly calculated to the point where every situation for her is a political calculation. And when that is the case, you get moments like that where she just doesn't really seem to be confident in what she's doing. She seems like she's in over her head because she is in over her head. But I think it's most important because she's simply fake, right? She's simply a fake person. She's acting. And when you're acting all the time, and you're always playing different roles, it's hard to actually play any one role good, okay? So I think that's what's actually going on with Kamala. But during this series of press conferences that she's had, okay, in Poland, that's not the only moment in which she's embarrassed herself. She also had another moment that I just find to be absolutely inexcusable, in which she is asked about inflation and gas prices and how long can Americans expect this to last. And the way she answers this question is just, it's something else. Take a look.
If I can ask you, Madam Vice President, President Biden has said that Americans will feel some pain for the sake of defending freedom and liberty, but there does seem to be no end game in sight. How long should Americans expect? How long should we be bracing for this really sort of historic inflation and some unprecedented gas prices?
Sure. In terms of the discussions that the president Johannes and I had, they ranged in subject, including the issue of the Black Sea, and I'll let him explain in more detail as he would like. But we are, again, fully aware and apprised, because we are in constant communication with the president, with his administration here, about the concerns that they have about the entire region and, frankly, the vulnerability. All you have to do is look at the map.
Okay, so that was just an absolute disaster on multiple levels, okay? First and foremost, she was asked a question about inflation and gas prices in America and how long can we expect that to last, okay? Did you guys notice, like, after asked that question, she looks at the Polish president as if he's supposed to answer the question, right? Basically looking for him to answer the question. And I'm like, what does he have to do with gas prices and inflation in America? You were specifically asked a question that is a question that you should answer as the vice president of the United States, and she looked towards the Polish president to answer a question about America. Guys, I'm gonna tell you something, man. This is a prime example of why Kamala Harris is setting women back. Okay, she is setting women back because when asked a question about our country, she looked towards a man that is the leader of another country to answer a question, right? Again, not looking good for feminism here, all right? Not looking good for pantsuits, okay? Not looking good, okay? That is just embarrassing on so many levels. Not to mention the fact that she didn't answer the question and she basically said, look at a map, right? Look at a map in response to a question about inflation and gas prices. We're not sending our best. We're truly not sending our best overseas to represent us, guys. We're not. We're not. Okay? So, that ain't the only thing that has been embarrassing from the Biden administration this week, as apparently Jen Psaki has been doing the very, very, very important work of briefing foreign policy experts on what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. And these foreign policy experts that she's briefing on what's going on there are TikTok influencers, right? As the White House, again, held a briefing with TikTok influencers about what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. And during this briefing, she made the false claim that Russia hacked our elections in 2016. Take a look.
We recognize how important your platforms are and how important it is to provide as much accurate information as possible to all the people who are using their voices and their platforms to project accurate information, because the best antidote to disinformation is the truth, right? And one of the big steps we've taken and made a decision to take is to declassify information over the course of the last several months. That is a hugely significant step. Matt and I have both spent many versions of time in government. And if you look back at 2014 and frankly, even 2016, when Russia invaded Ukraine, and then in 2016, when they, of course, hacked our election here, we did not do that, right? We did not declassify information, and it was very hard to communicate to the public and to compete with, frankly, the disinformation war that Russia was waging.
Yeah, so what I find to be absolutely hilarious about this and the irony in all this is that, first and foremost, it's embarrassing that we are consulting TikTok influencers about our foreign policy, right? It's embarrassing, but I do know why they're doing it. They're doing it because allegedly Russia is doing the same thing in their country, where they're using TikTok influencers to basically tell their side of the story in terms of what's happening in Ukraine, okay, to push their own propaganda, right? So lo and behold, we decide, well, if Russia's doing that, we're going to do the same thing. And we're going to complain about Russia putting out disinformation while also using TikTok influencers to put out disinformation. The disinformation, in this case, is the idea that Russia hacked our elections in 2016. Okay? Completely unproven claim that Jen Psaki just made, right? Basically false. Okay? We all know what happened with the DNC emails, okay? But there's no evidence that Russia influence the outcome of the elections in 2016. And I find it fascinating, so fascinating. In a time in which some people are getting censored, right, for making certain claims, okay, that the Democrats are just openly making claims like this, and nobody's corrected them and said, no, you can't make these claims, right? You can't make these claims. You can't say that the 2016 election was hacked by Russia, right? So again, she's spreading false information to TikTokers, but then they'll turn around in the same breath and complain about what Russia's doing when you're doing the exact same thing they're doing. All on the Chinese app, by the way, right? I want y'all to understand. The White House and one of their communication strategies involves using an app that is owned by China to communicate propaganda, right? That is what this administration is doing. Okay, this is what they're doing. Again, this is just embarrassing. Okay, this administration is nothing but an embarrassment. Every time you look, they don't have any answers to the real problems and the real issues that face America. They have no solutions whatsoever. And then they lie and they lie and they lie all the time. They spread their own propaganda. Everything that comes out of the White House, I mean, you really can't believe it. This stuff is just, it's a disaster. Okay, this administration is an unmitigated disaster from the top down. Okay, it just is, right? At every single turn, they are embarrassing themselves. And this is just one of the latest examples. Yeah, we're consulting TikTok influencers to push propaganda, false propaganda. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.